Hello everyone, I'm Pratibha, Assistant Professor of English, KLP College, Rewari. Today we are going to discuss importance of the casket scene in the play The Merchant of Venice. There are three important scenes in this play, and casket scene is one of those three most important scenes in the play, the other two being trial scene and the ring episode. And we have already discussed these two episodes. So today we are going to discuss the importance of the casket scene in the play The Merchant of Venice. Let us start. So, before we start discussing the importance of the scene, let us look at the background of the casket scene. Little bit of the background. There are two plots in the play Merchant of Venice. We all know this. There is one main plot, which is a main story, and then there is a subplot. Subplot means a story within the story. So the main plot is related to Bassanio Portia love interest. We have seen that and their marriage. Bassanio goes to Belmont as a suitor, and then that's where the play begins. Bassanio goes to Antonio because he wants money to go to Belmont to marry Portia. So that is where the story begins. So this is the main story of the play, and he wants to try his hand. Try his luck in winning Portia's hand. Then there is a subplot. Subplot results from the main plot. That is the bond between Shylock and Antonio. That is what happens because of the main plot, because Bassanio basically needs money to go to Belmont. So that is the subplot. Now, main plot is nothing without casket scene. Casket scene is the axis of the main plot. It is the most important scene of the main plot. Bassanio's marriage to Portia, it depends on the casket scene itself, because the marriage that takes place, it depends on the condition which Portia's father has written in his will. And the condition is that there are three caskets and the suitors have to choose one of them, and one of them contains Portia's picture, and whosoever chooses the right casket will marry Portia. So Bassanio's marriage to Portia depends on this scene. So there are three caskets. We need to give a little bit of this summary of the scene: gold, silver and lead. Each casket has a moral lesson for the one who opens it, and each one of them has a message, both inside and outside. There is one inscription outside the caskets which helps the suitors to make their choice, and then there is a scroll inside the casket which justifies the outcome of their choices. So this is the background of the casket scene. Now, before we start discussing the importance as such, we need to look at the summary of the play. We need to write the summary of the scene. Portia's father's will, we need to write some details on that. Portia's father willed that whosoever chooses the right casket, reading after deciding which casket might carry Portia's picture, might contain Portia's picture, will marry Portia. And the suitors have to make that choice depending upon the inscriptions which are written on all three caskets. And then we have to tell that suitors from all over the world are coming to make their choices, because Portia is a very sought after woman. Everyone wants to marry her. She's rich, she's beautiful. And then we have to tell about the caskets and what were the conditions related to them. There were three conditions basically, that suitors cannot reveal which caskets they chose. If they choose wrong, they have to leave immediately, and they cannot marry again. They cannot ask the hand of any woman for marriage after losing this casket lottery. Then we have to give details about the first suitor, who is the Prince of Morocco, who chooses gold casket. We need to write what is written on the gold casket, what is the inscription on the gold casket. Second suitor is the Prince of Aragon, who chooses the silver casket, and we need to write what is written on the silver casket. And then we need to write about Bassanio's choice, who doesn't go by the outward show, and he chooses the lead casket. And what is the inscription on the lead casket? That is also what we need to write. So this is an overall summary of the play which we need to write before we start discussing the importance, the dramatic importance of this scene. Casket scene. Now let us discuss the importance. It is an insight into human nature. Casket scene presents an insight into human nature or human mind. All the inscriptions and all the scrolls which were outside, the inscriptions which are outside the caskets and scrolls which were inside the caskets, they make wonderful statements to understand human nature or human behavior, of which Shakespeare was the master. The inscriptions are of paramount dramatic importance as they help justify the mindset of the suitors who come from all corners of the earth. Why did they choose what they choose? Why did Prince of Morocco choose gold casket? Because he's a prince and he believes that Portia, a gem like Portia, cannot be there in any of the other caskets other than gold casket, and he chooses by the outward show, by the look of the gold casket. So that is what. In silver casket, why does Prince of Aragon choose silver casket? There is some kind of understanding, some kind of study in his mind, his nature, his behavior. What is his thought process behind choosing the silver casket? So that is why this scene is important. It gives us an insight into human nature. Depiction of human psychology was Shakespeare's forte. Shakespeare was a master of of this area. He depicted human mind very well in his play. Psychology as a discipline, we all know, came in the first decade of 20th century. But the scientific advancements and insight into human psychology have added very little to Shakespeare's understanding of human psychology, so well picturized in his play more than 400 years ago. And casket scene is a very good illustration, very good example of this excellent depiction of human mind, human behavior in Shakespeare's play in general. So this is one of the major, significance of the casket scene. It is very important. It is a very important point. Dramatic importance of the casket scene. Now, why is this scene important in this particular play? Dramatic importance is it is a turning point of the play. Success of the trial scene depends on this scene, because if Portia hadn't married Bassanio, she could not save the life of Antonio. And so we need to give details, because after the choice, after they get married, they receive this letter about the wreckage of Antonio's ships, and the rest of the action follows. He loses the bond to Shylock, and he is now going to lose his life. This is what Antonio writes in his letter. So all these details we need to write here. If in this scene they hadn't gotten married, then why would Portia go and save Antonio? So this is important from that point of view. After the casket scene itself, the rings also get exchanged. They exchange their rings after casket scene. So it is also important. This scene is also important because it is linked to another important plot of the play, which is the ring plot. So basically, there are three important scenes in this play: a trial scene, casket scene, and ring episode. All these scenes are interconnected, and the connection starts here. The connection starts here in the casket scene. That is why it is very important from the dramatic point of view. So because it is connected to all the two other important scenes of the play. It reveals a different side of Bassanio's character. This is another important point. Some suitors are led by outward appearances, but Bassanio is not one of them. He chooses lead casket. He doesn't go by show. He doesn't, judge the book by its cover. The characters of Portia and Bassanio, both of them are revealed in a different light in this scene. Bassanio appears to be frivolous initially. He's spendthrift, irresponsible and careless, but this scene shows his wisdom and strength of character. He chooses not by show, but by wisdom. He applies some thought into it. He thinks deeply about all the three inscriptions and makes his choice very wisely. Portia it is a very different side of her character also revealed here. She loves Bassanio but doesn't reveal to him the right casket. She is shown to be righteous, not to be gone astray, lose a sense of respect towards her father's will. This aspect of her character is shown in the casket scene. So, from this angle, showing these two important characters in these lights, this scene becomes important. The scene reveals some characteristics of very different characteristics, throws some light on their character in Portia and Bassanio's character. In this particular scene, we see these sides of their character, so it becomes important. One of the most romantic scenes of the play, because of this scene, the play can be categorized as a romantic comedy, because when we discuss a romantic comedy, when we say romantic comedy, we mean that the play has to have romance and there has to be comedy in it. So, casket scene is one of the most romantic scenes in the entire play, where there are a lot of romantic dialogues are exchanged between Bassanio and Portia. So, this becomes important from that point of view. And because of this romantic scene, which is very important, the play can be categorized, the play can be called, it falls into that genre of romantic comedy. And it contains beautiful poetry to that effect, because Bassanio reveals his innermost feelings to Portia in a very poetic manner. So that is what makes the scene even more romantic. So this is why the scene becomes important. Because of this scene, the play falls into the category of romantic comedy. Now, another dramatic importance is that it is both romantic and it has dramatic significance, because it helps the action or the play it move further. After the casket scene follows the great trial scene, and the ring episode, which are another two very important scenes of the play. It develops the story further. After the casket scene, only the story gets developed, the action gets developed, it gets evolved. It shows everyone has weaknesses. This scene shows that, brings forth great moral lessons for everyone, brings out the human error idea of the play. Everyone makes mistakes, how suitors make their choices. This is a very important study into human understanding, human behavior, human nature. So that is why it is very important. It shows mindsets of people. Again, we can say that looking at the mindsets of the suitors, it foreshadows future events in the play, and it presents a wonderful insight into human character or human behavior. So that is why this scene becomes important. So you can elaborate, you can write all these points in detail to write a long answer question. If this question comes in your exam, what is the importance of the casket scene? You can elaborate on all these points, and your answer will be very detailed. Thank you.